We're learning Perek Shi'i of Tomer Devorah and the Midas of Malchus. I spent a while in the last year explaining the sphere of Malchus introduction. And of course, we hardly touched on it, so I'm going to explain more and hardly touch on it a little bit more. But let's just review a couple of the points that we made. One of the most famous statements about Malchus is in the Zohar, which says, Malchus leislei midilei, different place migarmei klum. That Malchus in itself is empty. So it's amazing because we're talking about the architecture of the whole Bria, from the spheres of Yoinos to the Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod. This is the whole Bria. The whole Bria is sort of coming down within the person, within the world. That's the way Hashem created the world. That's the way Hashem runs the world, through the spheros. And Malchus, which is seemingly the Iker, meaning that it's seemingly the Iker of, we're talking about Hashem now, not us, but it's the Iker because it's the culmination of everything. It's on the bottom, right? It's like catching everything. So, leislei v'garbei klum has nothing. Well, what happened to all of the different spheros that were there? Sort of a mathematical question. And how could it be leislei v'garbei klum? You find also, I was thinking this morning, that we say it's a pasuk, L'cha Hashem hagdula v'gvura v'tiferes. This is where we say everybody, when we take out the Torah, we all say the spheros, whether we're b'kubala or not. Hashem hagdula v'gvura v'tiferes v'netzach v'hod. So, even little kids say, "V'chol b'shamayim v'aretz l'cha Hashem, Hashem hamamlocha v'amisnase l'chol haraish." So it sounds like if you read that pasuk, I just want to point out, it sounds like there's almost like a completely different category called Malchus, right? Hashem hagdula v'gvura v'tiferes v'netzach v'hod. Right? Kichol b'shamayim u'va'aretz. That's Yesod. L'cha Hashem ha'mamlocha is like a separate thing. So why is it separate? This is all part of the. So one question answers the other. It's separate because leislei v'garbei klum, because it doesn't. It actually it doesn't. It's a tricky sphere insofar as it has nothing in it. Why doesn't it have anything in it? So the way we began to explain, and the way it's important to understand this, is that Malchus, in terms of the spheres, Chesed is like Hashem creates the world with Chesed. So there's this Or Ein Sof on top, and then comes a stream of Or of Chesed, one filter of Chesed, another one of Gevura. These are the components of the Bria. Malchus is not the components of the Bria, it's us. Ein Melech below Am. This is not about what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mashpia, it's about us. You can have this whole system, this whole fancy, very complex, which we hardly can understand, maybe just drops of it, of the whole architecture of the Bria, B'tzad Echad, and all the midos of Hashem, but it's not Malchus without us. It can't be a Malchus unless we make it into a Malchus. It's mamish like Hashem is like done, if you will. I'm using a lashon which is I'm not sure if it's accurate, but I'm just saying in the mashal that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is done as far as the Bria is concerned. Now it's up to us. So Malchus leislei migarmei klum, leislei midilei klum. There's nothing of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this, because this is now we're taking the whole Bria of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and we're saying what are we doing with it? What are we doing with the Bria? Very, very simple, very down to earth, literally down to earth. That Hashem created this whole Bria, created us. What are we doing with it? That's Malchus. So that's why it's separate in the pasuk. L'cha Hashem ha'mamlocha v'amisnase l'chol haraish.
Doesn't delay mean of itself?
Leislei midilei. No.
Usually that's how we.
That's the normal translation, but if you look in the Zohar, leislei midilei, it's the same as migarmei, meaning it's it's the same thing, really. In and of itself, it is nothing. But the way the Zohar explains it is that, what does it mean it's nothing? It's nothing from delay. It's nothing from all of these spheres that are before it. So this is not something to get nervous about, or it's not such a unapproachable idea. The point is,
we're the players.
It's like we say davening, Malchusai beratzain kiblu aleihem. Malchusai beratzain kiblu aleihem. That the Malchus of Hashem has to be beratzain yireya, but it has to be in the ratzon of the subjects. Doesn't mean, by the way, that if we're not makabel the Malchus of Hashem, that there is no Malchus of Hashem. That's not called the Malchus any longer. It's called Kehillat Shivtei Hamlucha Umoshel Bagoyim. Then it's called the Memshala. As the Goyim famously says, that Melucha, Kehillat Shivtei Hamelucha. That means Umalchusay Beratzay Kiblu Aleim. That if, let's say, people in the Medina are... people in a country are sort of democratically accepting a king, so then that's a Malchus. That's called a Malchus in Hebrew. Whereas if there's an occupation, or some king comes in, some foreign king comes in and takes over, so then we're slaves. So you're not in a better position; you're in a worse position. But that's called the Memshala, Moshel. Kehillat Shivtei Hamlucha Umoshel Bagoyim. Goyim doesn't mean necessarily Goyim. It could be Jews, it could be Goyim Makabel. But the point is that Derech Klal, the Goyim don't come to the shir. So therefore they're not familiar with the fact that they have to be Makabel, the Malchus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it's very interesting how there's, just want to make this point, that there's a few areas that are completely associated with Malchus in the Zohar. I'm going to go through the Zohar. Zohar is not going to take my word for it. First of all, the idea of Bechira Chavshis. The idea of Bechira Chavshis, that each one of us has free choice. What we're going to do with our lives, what we're not going to do with our lives, what we're going to do with our day, what we're not going to do with our day, whether we're going to eat it or not eat it. That free choice that we have, it's all because of the sphere of Malchus. And so there's no free choice anywhere else. Everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mashpia is mashpia. What's the connection between free choice and Malchus, Malchusai, Beratzai, Kiblu Aleim, because it's all about the Ratzon. If we wouldn't have free choice, so then it would be a Memshala. Right? Simple. If we wouldn't say, well, what do we have to have free choice for? Like Malachim don't have free choice, squirrels don't have free choice. Why do we have free choice? Because squirrels are not here to be Mamlech HaKadosh Baruch Hu. As far as I know, that's not their tachlis. Their tachlis is to make shavish the bria, like make the bria work. So you need a whole ecosystem to make the bria work. But in order for being mamlech HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's people. That's what people. And in order for people to be mamlech, perforce, you have to have free choice. You understand this? If you don't have free choice, then it's not a melucha. We're robots. So for robots, now we still have to go further. You see, why did Hashem, this is, as I always say, this is the opening question of every Kabbalah. Why did Hashem create the world? It's an opening question, but then I never get past the question because it's just so complex and so complicated. But one thing is clear, that the spheros would not be complete if he didn't create the world, because if Hashem didn't create the world, at least I could understand this, as I say, mathematically, that if Hashem wouldn't create the world, so that there would be no Malchus, and the spheres would be incomplete. Why would there be so? Create Malchus. You can't create Malchus. You can't create Malchus. Malchus, slaving, very clue. You can't create Malchus. We have to create Malchus. The big that we have to create Malchus. So it's obvious that Hashem had to create the world.
Rabbi, can I ask you to just clarify this concept of free choice regarding Mishala and Malchus? Was there not free choice by Mishala?
It's not that. It's that if we, it's not that there's no free choice. Everybody has free choice, or everybody has free choice. But if one chooses not to exercise their free choice, it doesn't mean that Hashem is not in charge. But what you're continuing on with is the standard midos that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created. So in other words, let's say a person is, just not doesn't choose Malchus Hashem, he just chooses to be generous. So he's taking the midas HaChesed and he's working with it. But Malchus is where you're saying that I'm using my free choice to accept that the whole world was created for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it's not about that there is no free choice. I'm using my free choice. If I don't use my free choice, Hashem is still in charge. Countries come, countries go, nations rise and fall. People get rich, people get poor. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in charge. No question about it. Just read the news. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in charge. But he's in charge as a Meb Shalom. That's not part of the Malchus Hashem. Okay, so you want to be like the rabbits and like the squirrels, that you're being mishamish the world, but you're not part of the Malchus Hashem. Malchus Hashem is the one who chooses to understand that they're part of a system which is now put in my hands, and in my hands I have to choose to do that all as Shema, do that all for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If not, then it's not Malchus. It's still something else. It's not. We haven't reached Malchus, and therefore the Tachlus of the world has not been achieved. When the Tachlus, where does the world reach its final Tachlus? Let's say when Mashiach comes, because that's Malchus. But Malchus is all about people. So if it's all about people, but it's all about people, I'm having nothing. That's the chap here. It's all about people choosing to give the Malchus back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Just logic, like it would be in any system, bureaucratic system. That Malchus is I'm accepting it. So Bechira Chavshis is a tolda of Malchus.
The definition for what Hashem, that Bechira Chavshis that Hashem blew into Adam, what it was this tool to create Malchus.
That's right.
So we have to choose the Mashiach, or how does that work? That's part of our free choice?
The Melech HaMashiach, whoever, whatever. You know, when I was younger, I thought that I had a hard time relating to Mashiach. I'm not sure why, but I saw it more as a concept. You know, but now I realize you really do need a person to really clean up the mess of the world. Like you really actually need like a great leader. But the idea of the Melech Mashiach ben David is the Ani v'roichev al Chamor. In other words, the one that can come and turn the whole world over to Malchusoi Baratza and Kiblu Aleim. So in that sense, I mean, it's not that everyone has to choose a Mashiach, but the point of the Mashiach Hashem, or the Melech B'Yisrael, and this is very important to what we're going to maybe learn today, that the point of the Melech B'Yisrael is that he himself should be completely batal to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All I'm doing, the Melech Yisrael is saying, is I'm taking Malchus Da'ara ke Malchus Da'Rikia. So I'm taking the Malchus Hashem and I'm making it permeate this world. Coming to Eretz Yisrael, I'm building a Beis HaMikdash. What does it mean to build a Beis HaMikdash? You're putting the presence of Hashem into this world. That's you're putting the Shechina into this world. Malchus is also Shechina, by the way. Also, Shechina is a Malchus. Lashon of the Zohar. Shechina is a Malchus. Malchus is Shechina. It goes back and forth. Why? Because the basic idea of HaKadosh Baruch Hu dwelling in this world is Malchus. And a little more complex is the Malchus is associated, and this I think is what you're saying, with the idea of Dibur. You can only make Malchus if you have Dibur. That's why animals can't make Malchus. It's part of the Mamshela, but it's not Malchus. Why? what's connection Dibur? So Dibur, Dibur unto itself is like Dibur speaking, talking. The idea of talking is not an independent concept. At least it's not meant to be. It's supposed to be hooked up to your brain and your feelings and who you are and what you are, and integrity is when you're speaking what you are. It's not like a fake. Like Dibur, everybody could Dibur. You know, you can. The machine could do Dibur, but if it has no neshama, no leiv, no machshava, Dibur, no, it has no nefesh to it. So then the Dibur unto itself is zero. Dibur is only as important as what's behind the Dibur. Just Dibur.
Dolphins can do Dibur.
Can't hear.
Dolphins can do Dibur.
Can they?
What do you mean? What's
A horse is a horse. Tell the age of who laughs. But
Misread.
yeah, yes. So like like people were always fascinated in trying to, but even the Dibur of a parrot, which could somehow get out some syllables. There's no money in that bank account. There's no regesh. There's no feeling. There's no machshava. So it's a very interesting thing. On the one hand, Dibur is everything. What I say, is like the expression of what I am. But on the other hand, Dibur leisle b'garbei klum. Dibur unto itself has no substance. It's only as good as what's behind it. So.
This concept of behind it or where it's going.
It
It has more meaning based on where it's going, rather than where it's coming.
Look, I think that the idea it's hard to wrap our brains around it a little bit, but the idea is that both, because it's as basic as trying to figure out what we're doing here in this world and what we're reminding ourselves of every Rosh Hashanah. But that's all about the Malchus Hashem. We're just, as I say almost every week, the Ramchal says that there's really no difference in people and Malachim. Malachim don't have Bechira Chavshus, people do have Bechira Chavshus, but it's all Hashem's world. So if we see ourselves as part of Hashem's world, then there's a Malchus going on here. And if there's a Malchus going on here, you have Mashiach, you have the Beis Hamikdash. The minute that you take it for yourself, the minute you take it for yourself, so you've messed up the Malchus. So you've got to be hooked up from where it's coming from and where it's going. It's yeah. Well, it's part of the system. It's part of the system. Just like Dibur, just understand this. Just like Dibur, cannot and should never be an independent concept. Then you're just just a parrot. So the same thing is you see some people talk and they're even if they say smart things, but they're not saying something which is coming from them. So that's like the Dibur. So the Dibur should not be an independent concept. So Dibur is like Malchus in the sense that it's a keli. Now the question is, what are you going to do with that keli?
It's for any sphere. You can say the same for Chesed, Gura. Shouldn't be an independent concept. Should be somehow connected to Malchus.
No, but Chesed has substance to it.
Still, it shouldn't be by itself.
But it can be by itself. That's what I'm saying. It shouldn't be by itself, but it can't.
It also can be by itself.
No, it can be, but it's apparent.
I mean, most of
it's not really deep.
Gemara, most of the things they're just deeper. Just not.
But that's exactly the point. It's Torah Shabbat Peh. About Peh, exactly the point. But it's all about the machshava that's behind it. It's not about the words. There's no point in Torah Shabbat Peh. There's no point in Torah Shabbat Peh if it's not. It's like that's the difference. That's the difference that the words of the Torah have have an essence by itself. And even if you say those words, you're doing like a holy thing. Like, so let's say somebody will say Psukim of Tehillim. So maybe it has like a value, even if it doesn't, even if you don't know what it's talking about. But Torah Shabbat has no value. If you're just going to read Gemaras and say Gemaras, if you don't understand it, then it has no value at all. That's what I mean. In other words, it has nothing. Leisleim garmei klum has nothing of itself. He comes here. Let's just. What we learned last week was that Rishayna lekulan shelo yiskoya liboy b'chol asher loy yasim atzmei tamid ka'ani. That the first part of Midas HaMalchus is that a person has to be an ani, like Mashiach. Ani haroiche v'alachamor. V'yamid atzlif nekoinoi. My choice is to have no choice. My choice is to be part of a system of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And I pointed out last week, which is so ironic and so much fun, and that is that the more I can be mevatel myself in the Midas HaMalchus to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the more I have. It's such an important thing. It's like the more you can trust. As I said last week, the more you can trust the bank teller, the more cash you'll give her. What do you trust her? That she doesn't think it's her money or his money. Like it's the leislei migarmei klum, which gives you everything. So HaKadosh Baruch, the more a person is mevatel himself, the more HaKadosh Baruch Hu can put it. Rav Chaim Volozhin says so beautifully. He says that look at this world. He's talking about Midas HaMalchus, Spheres HaMalchus. Look at it like a keli. So you have this keli, a cup, right? So you have a cup. So you could have a cup which is the same size as Rav Chaim Volozhin on the outside, one cup next to the other cup. But how much water can you put in depends on the thickness of the cup. Those are Rav Chaim Volozhin. Let's say this was made out of like really thick ceramic. So at the end it could look the same thing on the outside, but on the inside you can only put like maybe an ounce of water. If you make the walls very thin, you can put 8 ounces of water. So a chashiv keli is very, very thin, but also very, very fragile. So Rav Chaim Volozhin says that Moshe Rabbeinu, who was the Anav Mikol Adam, since he was the Anav Mikol Adam, he was very, very thin-walled keli. There was very little of himself involved there, like, I need to eat now, or I need to take a nap before I can do this thing. No, our boyim yoim, 40 days he's on the mountain. I didn't sleep the entire time. He got to a point of almost total bittul, and the almost total bittul, says Rav Chaim Volozhin explains, that was the Anav Mikol Adam. It was not two separate things. Like, there's two things about Moshe Rabbeinu. One is that he was humble man, nice man. And the other thing is that he fasted on the mountains. Those are not two independent ideas. It's all the same thing. There was nothing of him left in him. There was nothing of him left in him. And since there was nothing of him left in him, so he was like a very, very thin wall. He was alive, so there was a keli there, and he had to be alive to do the midah of Malchus. But the point is that so much Nevuah was able to flow into Moshe Rabbeinu. So much Nevuah, because he was the thinnest. So says Rav Chaim Volozhin that all the Nevi'im that came afterwards, if their cup would have been as thin-walled as Moshe Rabbeinu's cup, they would have the same amount of Nevuah and the same amount of Torah as Moshe Rabbeinu. And he goes further to say that anybody that would have the modesty or the humility of Moshe Rabbeinu would have the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu. It's completely after chapicha v'amalehu. I'm willing to give you. So think about it in terms of Malchus, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes. I'm willing to give you everything, but how much Malchus do you have here? How much are you makabel? Well, it depends. How much of yourself you're willing to get rid of. So this is not like torturing ourselves or fasting, I guess that might be part of it, but that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is that I'm willing to give it all up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now here's the fun part about it, is the more that I give up, the more I'm mechil.
But you can't use it for yourself, though. You have to
Once you use it for yourself, you're thickening the cup. You're thickening the vessel. So the more I'm willing to be Eved Hashem, that's what Moshe Rabbeinu was called, Eved Hashem. Mashi Kana Eved, Kana Rabbi. Right. So once I'm willing to be an Eved Hashem, you can have everything. If I'm a billionaire and I have an Eved, the Eved is living in luxury, isn't he? Isn't he? It's like, well, you get a fancy house, you can use my pool, you can drive my Rolls. It's like, yeah, you're my Eved, my trusted servant. And the less you take for yourself, the more you can have. So if it's a big, this Bechira Chavshus is a big one, because it's a big choice that we need to make. Like, how much am I willing to give up? That's how much I'm willing to have. I'm able to have. You get it? It's like,
And the benefit of getting just your living a close life to Hashem, like usually people think of the benefit is I get more from me, but that's with the Kavanah.
why are you saying like that in close to Hashem? Say like this, that the more I'm willing to be part of the system.
Mm-hmm.
Understand yourself as part of the system. We have free choice, so you can think of yourself as an independent kind of system. Like this is all about me, like number one. But people, you always have to be careful with. I'm a believer in, just before I say what I want to say, I'm a believer in therapy. I send many people to therapy. I think it's a good thing, but you got to be very careful here. Like the test of the psychologist is what is his teaching, what is his what is he encouraging? So is he encouraging self-esteem is good. That's important, but it's if it becomes like a self-centered. You see some people that are over-psychologized. So they're very. I mean, right? Am I being too rough here? They're very self-centered. Hey, you're intruding on my boundaries. Where does that leave me? There's a lot. That's not self-esteem. That's not self-esteem. That's selfish. That's self-esteem is I'm comfortable with who I am and what I am. So I can see myself as Moshe Rabbeinu had self-esteem. Yeah, take a look. He fought for himself. That wasn't the question. He even took the stones the Psulei Haluchos for himself. This wasn't the issue. I mean, he was very mechubad. When Korach came and insulted him, he was upset. He cursed him. This is a confusion. That's not what modesty means. But when it starts to become like protect the number one. So are we the number one? It is such a horrible way to live, anyways, because then you become like everything everybody does. Is it intruding? Is it offensive? Is it you got to be careful. Like it's a very, very fine line between self-esteem and selfish. I notice over psychologizing. Some people are over therapized. They're just like they're very aware of their comfort. Right. Not good. So the Malchus is complete bittul, and yet you're a melech. So he says here. Let me just skip a few lines here. Ulahepech mizeh. If we talk about, just for a second before we get to the sentence earlier, we said gam be'es tfilos of shizu skula nifla, that there's a skula in tefillah, like everyone's looking for a skula in tefillah. How do you get your prayers answered? And we learned that the answer to that is, it's a very simple answer, guaranteed success, is Malchus. If I'm not davening for myself per se, so then everything will be answered, like the guy, remember the mashal of the guy with the cutter,
All for the boss.
All for the boss, yeah. No, it was saying that somebody came and said that he was afraid to ask his boss. He was working in the garment district. He was afraid to ask his boss for that new pizza cutter, to cut the material. It wasn't going sharp and he was going slow. So what are you afraid? It's for him, it's not for you. So Kolzman, you're asking for you, so you have to be ashamed. If you're asking for the boss, for the boss, so then you can ask whatever you want, and not the rabbi, like you get a promotion for asking, thank you for keeping your eye on it. That's a very good thing. But it's very clear that if you happen to be a navi, so since Eina Nevuah Shoira El Al Chacham Asher V'Gibor, you can't be a navi unless you're a Chacham Asher and Gibor. So now, let's say you're in the position of navi. Your name is Yirmiyahu. You're a navi. You're entitled to ask in guaranteed success that Hashem should give you Chachma, Ashirus, and Gevura. You're entitled. And not necessarily Lechem Mishnah says, well, it means Ezu Gibor HaKodesh Yitzra. Okay. But whatever it is, I could stand in tefillah and I could say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, look, if you want me to make some kind of a Malchus for you here, so I need good health, and I need a budget, and I need some wisdom. How am I supposed to do this if I don't have Chacham Asher V'Gibor? You want me to take my family and make my family into Malchus Hashem? Well, I need Parnasa, I need Gevura, I need Chachma. So once you're a Navi, and the only way to become a Navi, like Ruch Chaim Volozhin says, is to thin the walls of the cup. Once you're a Navi, you're allowed to ask for these things, which it would seem almost like base requests. If you ask a spiritual person, what are you davening for? Last thing he would say is money. But Chacham Asher V'Gibor, you see, Moshe Rabbeinu took the money. And he asked for Chachma, and he was Gvura. I need these things in order to do my job. So once it's a job, once you're a jobnik in this whole marechet of the world, come an eltzbin, like whatever you need. Look, I need to go business class. I just need it. You can't expect me to do the kind of work that I'm doing around the clock if I don't have a comfortable seat on the plane. You're allowed to do that. You're entitled to it. You're mechuyev to do that.
It was a process for him too, because he didn't ask for speech in the beginning. Yeah.
Right, that was a process. Very good. Well said. He didn't need speech.
Right.
He didn't. Aaron was the Dibor.
Yeah.
His Dibor is Malchus. I don't know if that's what you mean, but understand, we just said a minute ago that one of the things that are associated with Malchus is Dibor, the ability to articulate, because when you're articulating, you're taking everything and you're bringing it into this world. Unless you're short-circuited and you're just like a talking machine impaired. But if you're taking everything and you're talking, so Moshe Rabbeinu said, I'm not the man for this job. Ki aral sfasayim anav. I can't even talk. Okay? Aaron, who yed neviachos, it'll take two. That's emes. So when you're davening, there's a school of nifla. The less you are, the more you get. There's a very practical thing. Ulahapach mizeh, says the Tomer Devorah. If you want to understand like the opposite of this, namar v'ram levavecha v'shachachta, that there is a situation that it says in the Chumash, says this twice I think, Parshas Eikev, that you'll appoint a king, and the king will become a Balgaiva. Very easy to happen. Very easy to start off saying, "Oh, I'm going to be a king, and I'm going to bring this people all to HaKadosh Baruch Hu." But you can the difference between Chizkiyahu and Menashe was the hairline, and Menashe and Yoshiyahu a hairline. What was the whole difference? The whole difference was I'm taking it for myself. Very difficult. Here's all the kavod and all the power of a king and all the money, all the things that a king has. Why does the king have these things? To Malchus Shelchai, right? To be able to make a Malchus Hashem. But there's those, says the Tanakh, every single parak there in Malachim, there are those that went b'derech David Aviv, and there's those that didn't go b'derech David. David went through every kind of usurp, financial, health, everything, bezyonos, everything you can have, because that was his mouth. That was shtel davek. The idea of Malchus is it's not about me. It was a tough one. Ad kedei kach that he was matzliach, that in Shlomo HaMelech came out that he was an usher and he was the biggest chacham in the whole world, And, right, and he had tremendous gevura, chacham, asher, v'gibor. He had everything, but it was all ostensibly for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, unless he messed up on it, which is very, very Dakistic. It's very easy. So Malchus, it's like, let me go back to my base muscle. Like, it's like the bank teller tries to put a couple of grand in his pocket. But like, this is not your buddy. I might have mentioned this before, but one of the most striking conversations I had was when I once went to ask Mr. Zev Wolfson, Olav Shalom, one of the richest men in Kabbalist Rav Moshe Cordevaro in the world. I once asked him for money for a certain project. So he thought about it a little bit and he said, no. That was striking. Like, he liked me. He used to call me just for social activity. But he never gave me any money. Like, it was like, whenever I asked him for money, he said, like, you're ruining our relationship. So I said, okay. Okay, let's ruin the relationship here for a minute. For a second.
Might be worth it.
But it might be worth it. That's what he told me, ruining your relationship. But I asked him for something once. It was a school in Monsey that they asked me to. So I asked him for money. He said no. So I said, well, no. I mean, you're giving tzedakah, and you have billions and billions and billions of dollars. I'm asking for $20,000 for this. So he said, but it all, like he said, it's not my money, and that's not what it's for. Meaning, I have a certain amount of tzedakah money, and I don't know, some Navi told him that this is what he should do with that tzedakah money. And he does what he does, certainly a lot. This is what he should do with this tzedakah money, and this doesn't fit into I'm just a manager, and this just does simply, what you're describing here, the school, doesn't fit into the whole, my portfolio. He saw it as a manager. Now, he had everything, he had everything, but he was a manager. The more it's clear to me, but the more he saw himself as the teller, as the bank teller, as the guy by tzedakah here, the more he had. Now, that's not the only way to have. I guess Donald Trump has money also, but it's temporal, This is not our system. Our system is, the more, Rav Scheidberg used to always say, some people are rings it by ears. People say, he used to ask them to help the yeshiva, whatever. People used to say, all right, when I'll get, so I'll give. So the yeshiva used to always tell them, when you'll give, that's when you're going to get. It's the other way around. Because it's all about bechira chavshis. It's isarusa de lasato. Did you read, by the way, while I'm talking about money? There is an article about the Tasha Rebbe. It's the Tzadik with bracha. I was also taking a bracha from in one of the magazines, Mishpacha maybe. So just it moved me because I saw the Tasha Rebbe was like this. The Tasha Rebbe, people would come and they would put money on his table because that's what you do with Hasidic rabbis. And he never touched the money. The money would sit on the table, and sometimes there was $3 on the table, sometimes it was $3,000, sometimes there was $30,000. It depends who came to visit. And then he would wait, and then when somebody came in and needed money, so it would take like this. I saw this with his sleeve like this, and he would push all the money. Never touch money. He would push all the money towards that person. So in other words, I'm just like he saw himself as like this table is a pipe, for the money. So I see it's an interesting thing to watch because all the professional aniyim used to stand there and they used to wait till like the right moment till the big gevir comes and they used to run, I need money. They used to get money. And the Gabbayim used to complain this is not a derech to do it and we need to keep the books and we need to decide who's right and who's not right. Like you're going to put some system. He says, you do that. This is what I do with the money people give me. You do with the money, whatever people give you. You can do that. This is what people give me. I can do whatever I want with it. That was his point. But anyways, in the Mishpacha magazine there, it said just a beautiful story that he called somebody. There was something needed a lot of money. I don't remember what the story was. But, so he called somebody, one of his Hasidim, and he said that I'd like you to give $40,000 for this project. So the person said, Rebbe, I love to, but I don't have $40,000 right now to give. So he said to the person, he says, Shah, Hashem is listening. Such a unbelievable story. Shah. I don't want to explain such an emesis story. It's such an emesis story. Like when you don't have, what you need to have, you'll have. What are you saying? I'm not the gabbai. What are you doing? What are you doing? Don't talk so loud. Yeah. So anyways, the guy gave the $40,000. I tried it the next day. Nothing happened. Nothing. the thing is like this. This is the Malchus. So the Torah says that if you have a king, there's a danger with the king. V'ram levavecha. Sometimes the Torah says twice. One's a danger with the whole Klal Yisrael, and one's a danger with the king. V'ram levavecha v'shachachta es Hashem Elokecha. That gaiva, v'ram levavecha, ram levavecha. What does it mean? What does it mean, chai? Ram levavecha. Gaiva. What's v'ram levavecha? Like you become full of yourself. Yeah, Ram Levavecha. I saw something so special. The Smag, Sefer Mitzvahs Gedolos, he counts the mitzvahs, as does the Rambam and the Chinuch. He counts the mitzvahs. So he writes. Take a look in this mitzvah here. He's the only one of the Moinei HaMitzvahs that make Gaiva into an actual lav. Avera to have gaiva, and he learns it from this pasuk, V'ram levavecha v'shachachta, that there's an isser of gaiva. So he writes there in the smag, right there. There is a story about this smag. Right in the smag, he writes. If you look, I don't learn smag, but somebody pointed this out to me. The V'ram levavecha, he said that he considered that this might be a mitzvah loisa, saying he should count it, but then he looked and he saw that the Rambam didn't count it, and the Chinuch didn't count it, and all the Moinei HaMitzvahs didn't count it. So it's probably not a mitzvah. It's probably more like a midah or an hanhaga. Like it doesn't say like you should be a nice guy. Like that midos are not in the Torah. So he left it out, and he writes in the Smag. He says ulam. He says, however, on that night that he left it out, and he was just finishing up the mitzvahs, he had a dream, and in the dream. Baruch or something, but he was made to understand that you must write this down as one of the Moinei HaMitzvahs, and you have to be, as one of the mitzvahs, Losa say, and you have to be masakein the Rambam and the Chinuch who didn't write it down as one of the mitzvahs. And in the dream it said, Ki hu ha'ikr b'yiras Hashem. Like this is the main mitzvah. What are you leaving out? The main mitzvah. So Ram levavecha v'shachachta means that there's such a thing as gaiva. Now, I just want to say something quickly, and then I'm going to. That's something to think about here. The Zohar says right here in Kisei that there's a connection between gaiva and shikha. Now, we don't know that the people that are bali gaiva have more shikha than anybody else. But what the Zohar means is that the more, very simple, the more gaiva I have, the more I forget my way. I forget what I'm doing here. I forget my purpose. I forget my isn't it something that to see, like, again, I don't want to be critical just a little bit, but isn't it something to see how such noble causes and noble institutions and noble organizations, shuls, schools, yeshivas, whatever they might be, even chesed organizations, they forget their way. Like they forget what they're doing, if at the end, if you start a school and you don't want to be mechanech kids, so that's like, isn't that like a little bit crazy? Like what happened? V'shachachta. Pashat shachachta, you forgot. Like you forgot. Let's say here we're trying to build a building, you could get so into the trappings and the architecture, like there could be such a thing as v'shachachta. Which you forget what you're doing over here? So what does it mean? I forgot what I'm doing. Let's say you say to somebody, we prefer you don't daven in this show. You're not our type. So, just as an example. Okay, so what do we say to that person? Shachachta. You forgot what you're doing over here. Let's say you say somebody like, you argue in shul over kibbutz, kavla. So what's the answer to this person? V'shachachta. V'ram levavecha v'shachachta. You pushed forgot you lost your way. So when the Zohar says that shikha, the gaiva causes shikha and shikha causes gaiva, and it says that shikha comes from the klipa chitzoni. I think what it all means in simple English, and maybe you're familiar with the klipa chitzoni. Balatanya says it means from the klipas, not from the klipas noiga, but from the sholish klipas atmeus. That's where shikha comes in. The pshat is that you forget who you are, what you are, what's going on. So yes, we have free choice, but if you choose wrong, what do you have? V'ram levavecha, says the Tomer Devorah, v'shachachta. Then you forgot what you're doing over here. I could give you 100 examples, but I will spare you because it's 9:35. This is the one of the first nakuda. We have 3 nakudas so far. One nakuda of Malchus is leislei megar me klum. I'm happy to have nothing, and the less I have, less is more. Second nakuda of Malchus is zuskula nifla b'tefillah. It's a way to daven. The way to daven is that at the end of Shemoneh Esrei, you say, I asked all these things, but I say L'man Shemecha, I say L'man Kedushasecha, I say Iman Yaminecha, I say L'man Shchinasecha, whatever your nusach is. It's not about me. And the third avodah is V'shachachta, don't forget, don't engage in shikha, because there's a mindfulness of what has to happen every single decision that I make, that don't forget what you're doing here altogether. You can forget the whole thing. It's yitachem. You can forget the whole thing, and then you messed up not just Malchus, but you messed up all the spheros. No matter what. No matter what. So the smag at the end, I saw when I looked up the smag in the Pirush of the smag, he says that you can learn Torah, and you can do chesed, and you can do all the different things, but if it's with gaiva, it's nothing. Why is it nothing? Because you're taking it all. It's all about you. It's not about what I'm here for. That I'm part of this system called the world.